big fan of cleaning up the ban list. This is something I'm always going to advocate for. I want to see more unbans than currently happen. So I was actually a big fan of the ban list update, right? If we're going to ban 3 things, let's get some stuff off the ban list. So love it. Like I said, I don't know if Mox Opal's the card. I think we could reach for other stuff, but I thought the other stuff was really fine. You know, Split and Twin, miserable card, but way underpowered. You're talking about Faithless Looting. Again, not underpowered, but just doesn't really have a home right now in a playable deck. And then Green Sun Zenith is just, I mean, there's way better. If you want to tutor creatures, better ways to do it. And reaching for Green Sun Zenith over Birthing Pod, I think is also quite smart. Birthing Pod is still one of those cards that, I don't know. That card does still strike me as potentially too strong. That one's a lot. That's a lot of power.
That one's close. Yeah, I mean, that one is also another one of those cards that scales a lot with the power level of like power creep, right? Where Birthing Pod, the pool of available creatures to be able to tutor that had, meaningful ETBs and things like that was much smaller even when Birthing Pod got banned. And they just keep printing every single year creatures, lots and lots of creatures that have good ETBs. So yeah, that one is certainly up on the list of potential changes, and see some hands being kept here. I'm looking at Alex's hand. It looks like Double Discharge, Parlor, Fetchland, Fable, Ocelot Pride. So mana's a little wonky here. Does have a 1-drop and a couple of discharges. Although, I guess the question you have to ask yourself is Double Discharge something you want in this, in the Breach matchup? Which is not clear.
They know the matchup, right? So you have to imagine he's at least somewhat interested in it. It does pick off cards like Emery and like Cameo. Yeah, there's a lot of zeros. We have Mox Opal online turn 1 here for Will Kowalczyk, who did mulligan. So we have all this on the mulligan. Mishra's Baubles represent a redraw. So we have 2 mana here in turn 1 and 2 potential redraws. Quite a strong opening hand. Yeah, like I was saying, I think, Alex wants to have some cover for a powerful turn 1 creature or a turn 1 Planeswalker.
Oh my goodness. Turn 1 Renin 6. And, funny story about Renin 6. 4 loyalty. Discharge can only deal 3 to it. And, God, Renin 6 on the play and your hand is Ocelot Pride, Galvanic Discharge. Like, if you're sitting in Alex's seat, it's like, this could not have gone possibly worse for me.
Yeah, what a mulligan there. A disciplined mulligan from Will Kowalczyk. And honestly, was there one Renin 6 in the main deck? Really the only player I've seen
just
playing Renin 6 at all. Outside of, we saw some Judd players doing it. But, like, for the most part, that card's been really quiet. Suspiciously quiet, I'd argue, since the ban list update. And, one main, one side could be the return of Renin 6. Looks incredible here with a great follow-up in Malevolent Rumble. And chooses to play nothing turn 1. Does Alex Tamio picked up.
Yeah, looks like, a couple of spells in the graveyard, so a couple of instants and a sorcery. So if we're looking towards something like, maybe a Shifting Woodland, not quite getting there. But yeah, it does have the Scalding Tarn, can go ahead and deploy the Tamio. Interesting, worth noting that Will did not crack the baubles, right? Had the opportunity on a mulligan, could have cycled them, but chose to keep them in play. And I think part of that was he wanted to keep the Mox Opal online, but also holding the baubles gives you an option, now that you found the Tamio, to then flip the Tamio next turn.
Sure. Yeah, that's a big point in that favor as well, as Tamio's going to be deployed. And now these Galvanic Discharges, kind of awkward, as Rin out now up to 5. Tamio takes the entire energy charge from Galvanic Discharge to pick off, and you have multiple problems here already on turn 2 to deal with. Will Kowalczyk showing the power of having access to Moxen, and of course turn 1 Planeswalker, quite powerful, especially on the play. Our number 2 seed looks to be in good shape here game 1. And yeah, once again, just blanking Ocelot Pride. Incredible deal here for the Renin 6. Can't even deploy a creature to start trying to pressure the Planeswalker. Renin 6 looking very good. Finding, can't grab Elegant Parley. That one just tapped. You need something untapped.
Yeah, and I think Alex's plan here might have actually been to just discharge, just bank 3 energy, untap, play second land, kill the Renin 6, then deploy the Ocelot Pride. But now that Will has the Tamio and the 2 Mishra's Baubles, Alex no longer can take that line. You have to respect the Tamio, and now you're in a spot where your discharge can't touch the Ren, and your Ocelot Pride is offline. So, what are you really doing if you're in Alex's side? There's, he doesn't really have any good plays here.
Yeah, there's nothing really going on for Alex at all, which is awkward considering, also Pride just not even a few months ago was one of the best cards in the format. Here's this thing that is really holding a lot of the format hostage and really putting the demand for turn 1 removal. But Renin 6 looks to be cleaning up here very nicely. And of course, can't understate the impact that Mox Opal has on that. But beyond that, Ocelot Pride looks taxless. This Galvanic Discharge not good enough somehow. And I mean, Fable's really slow. We're kind of not doing anything this turn otherwise. Maybe you grab like Elegant Parlor and then
Uh,
what?
I guess you can double Ocelot, right? And then Will can only kill one of them.
Oh,
Maybe. Look,
yeah,
it's a
that's tough.
tough way to do it, but
Yeah, it is a tough way to do it. Back to Will Kowalczyk again, who we fetched an island, maybe notable, thinking he might have more mana sources. Not really worried about his colors, is Will Kowalczyk.
yeah, and also worth noting there are no blood moons in the main deck for Alex. The only blood moon in the sideboard, there's one in the sideboard, but none in the main. So one total in the 75. So for the most part, Will does not have to worry about that aspect. But you know what Alex has to worry about is there might be a combo kill here. I don't know if there's
Yeah,
a
grinding
breach in Will's hand, but
station is a big deal here because, as we've seen, really having that in play already just makes Underworld Breach really just a kill out of the box. You could just find it. You don't even need a Moxen. You don't need Emery. You can just use a Bobble and start going to find stuff. As long as you have a graveyard and your grinding station already in play. It's kind of like this weird, like the card's not good on its own, but it just implies so much more about how the game is going to progress if you're able to deploy it ahead of schedule. And
ooh, actually, there's a good point. How did the Mox Opal get tapped for mana? We don't have 3 artifacts, correct?
we had another Bobble just now and then just cracked
Oh,
it,
we
I believe. I
sacked it
think
to
we
the
just
grinding
did the Bobble.
station, right? Because we did the trigger on
Yeah.
the stack, sack the bobble. Okay, never mind. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we used we cast grinding
the
station
artifact
first.
wasn't in play, and the station was untapped, so I was confused. But yeah, you're right. We sacked the bobble.
And now we're surveilling with Hedge Maze. So yeah, we had the artifact count. And did not see what happened with the Hedge Maze.
I think he been to Saga.
Been to Saga? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Which makes sense because even if you want access to the saga, well, I was gonna say that you want access to the saga later, you can get it off the Ren,
Yeah,
but
you
not
get
if it
off
goes to a
red, but
Graven
nope.
card.
Okay, Three Charm exiling the Grave. That's a good way to use mana this turn. I was kind of critical that Alex really isn't just able to do anything with his mana until he gets his Fable going. And then the Fable, of course, is going to solve a lot of your problems as far as like the Ocelot Ply being blank can turn that into something different and really start to solve some of the problems you have as long as you don't just die to an Underworld Breach top deck. But I mean, the Three Charm does a lot to mitigate what the Ren's got going on and to mitigate your potential of just dying to an Underworld Breach out of the box. Although, again, Grinding Station being in play, I think makes really a lot of the graveyard stuff not matter that much.
Well, I mean, think about it this way too. You know, that Ren and 6 was a huge threat here for Will. Now that, you know, Will had the saga, Will had the fetch land. Now you've kind of cleaned up the Ren and 6, or at least for the time being until Will can find another land. And now you sort of have a little bit of time to deploy the Fable. Sure, you're at the mercy of Will just drawing an Underworld Breach, and that's going to end the game on the spot. But if Alex can dodge that top deck, man, Ren's going to be on 7, but it's not clear how much the ultimate. Let's take a look at the spells that Will has access to. So Will has 1 Grape Shot, 4 Malevolent Rumble. Oh, okay. Well, he's also got a Breach.
Still with the breach, just like you're dead. Like I know you're getting
Never mind.
out, you're making decisions. I got the breach. We're done here, and that we are in fact done here. That's going to do it for game number 1. Wow. I mean, wow. What a testament to Red and
That's
6.
all you got to say is wow.
Yeah, Red and 6 really shut down everything the energy deck had going on and then allowed Will to make all of his land drops, and everything came up Will game number 1. So we got to see exactly what Alex can do about that. So we're going to go to the sideboards for that reason. And in the sideboard, we see 1 copy of Blood Moon, 1 copy of Containment Priest, 1 Deafening Silence, 1 Dreadnought Magistrate, 1 Ghost Vacuum, 3 Obsidian Charmaw, 1 Orange Chant, 1 Showdown of the Scalds, 2 Stony Silence, 1 Surgical Extraction, and 2 Wear and Tear. What do you want against the breach strategy?
So I actually really like Alex's sideboard here, and the reason for that is it seems like he's layered his interaction quite well. And what I mean by that is there's not just like 4 Stony Silence or 4 Wear Tear. There's a very good mix here, and it's going to make, with open deck lists, it's going to make Will respect certain things a little bit more than he would like to. So the Draenith Magistrate, very good, stopping breach. Orm's Chant can be a pretty clutch card to, it's like in response to a breach, you can chant so they can't cast spells off of it. Surgical, if you can ever hit breach with that, that's fantastic. Wear Tear, good against the Saga plan. Deafening Silence, good at stopping from casting spells. Ghost Vacuum, and 2 Stony Silence. So Alex has a lot of cards to bring in and presumably wants to shave on some of the interaction and maybe some of the 3 drops as well.
Yeah, you're at the point where you have so much like cards that you can actually like upgrade stuff that has text in the matchup, but maybe isn't that exciting. I can point to like whatever, like Galvanic Discharges, Static Prison, that kind of stuff. Like maybe those cards are fine, maybe you don't want all of them, and you can actually just upgrade those slots because you just have enough cards to go to. I think that's always really attractive when you're able to kind of build your sideboard in such a way where you can do stuff like that. Well, over to Will Kowalczyk we go. Take a look at the Grinding Station sideboard. This one a little bit different. The Grinding Breach, excuse me. We got 2 copies of Beseiju Who Endures, 4 copies of Consigned to Memory, 1 Fire Spout, 1 Flame of Anor, 1 Nature's Claim, 1 Pithing Needle, 1 Pyroclasm, 1 Spell Pierce, 1 Spell Snare, 1 Thassa's Oracle, and 1 Ren and 6. So a couple oddballs, but for the most part, a lot of the same tools. What do you want against Boros Energy?
So I think part of Will's sideboard plan in I'm not sure if it's exactly for this matchup, but kind of like the Ren plus Beseiju lockout aspect. Now, if you look at the Boros side of things, they have Arena of Glory, Fable the Mirror Breaker, Static Prison, but more importantly in the post board games, Stony Silence. So I think Will definitely wants the Beseijus. I'm not sure if you want to go all the way and do like the full Ren Beseiju lockout plan. That's a little bit tougher. Definitely want the sweepers, Pyroclasm and Fire Spout. Both seem fantastic. Spell Snare could be interesting, not only because there's a lot of 2-drops in game 1, but a lot of Alex's most potent sideboard cards also happen to cost 2 mana. The Nature's Claim for that reason as well, Stony Silence, the Ghost Vacuum, and things like that. And I think that's about it. Maybe the Flame of Anor if you wanted to maybe try and fight over a Johnny plus a Ghost Vacuum, but that one might stay at home.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of good options here. And who knows? Things could change on play draw. I mean, obviously, Ren on the play there looked insane. And, maybe it still has quite a bit of text, just the downticks and all that stuff post board that you just want it anyway. And the Beseiju stuff is just extra sugar. Not clear, but I think that there's certainly a strong argument for it, especially given how we saw game 1 play out there. As these players do still take a look there at Shuffle Up for game number 2. While they're doing that, let's take a quick look at the events for next season, as this event is coming to a conclusion really quick. And we have, let's take a quick look here. We got the Chicagoland. We got a team trial tomorrow. That's Standard Modern Legacy. No Energy Championship on the line there, but still a team event. A lot of fun there until $10,000 on the line. Then Showdown weekend every weekend, May, March, June. We got one in Chicagoland that's modern, followed by a 5K standard trial. Then we got one in standard. That one will be in Madison, Wisconsin, accompanying a 5K Pioneer trial. And then, of course, the Piste de Resistance, the June Indianapolis event with 2 showdowns qualifying 4 players for the Energy Championship Series. That's the 10K Standard Showdown and the 10K Team Sealed Showdown. So next event is, of course, in Madison, Wisconsin. That's a 10K Standard Showdown. So a little bit of standard action. A lot of hype around that. I know you've been playing a lot of standard. I think
a lot of standard
format. It seems like it's a lot of fun, and it's good to see the revitalization of standard. It's something I think players talked about for a long time, wanting to see standard make a comeback. Not just for I think budget reasons, like standard decks are obviously cheaper, but like the gameplay changes a lot faster, gets stale a lot less quickly, and that's something that's really attractive to a lot of players. Good to see it making a comeback here on the NRG series as well.
Talk to me about Team Sealed though. NRG for the first time ever, Team Sealed Showdown. That's gonna be a banger.
Yeah, I actually played a team event that was Modern Legacy sealed. So we had one seat that was sealed. A lot of fun. I played that with Connor Mullally, one of our championship competitors, and a good friend of mine named Chad Harney. And it was a ton of fun having a sealed player that is just doing something completely different. You can kind of help with, and that was a lot of fun in its own right, because team events are just a lot of fun. Team Sealed, I've only ever done once in my life. I played a GP in Nashville that was team sealed Cons of Tarkir. Ton of fun. Ton of fun. One of my favorite GPs. And really, hooked me on competitive Magic. And I have not. So what's that? 10, 20 years ago, whatever that was.
The only one that I played Battle for Zendikar Team Sealed, which was, I think, Washington, D.C. I want to say it was about that. So that was a fun event though, and that was great because it was one of the earliest ones where you could open the bonus sheet foils or whatever. And I played against somebody who had a wasteland. I was blue white. I had one dual land in my deck, and I just go tap dual land pass, and I get wastelanded on turn 1. I'm like, all right, come on, what are we doing?
We're done. We can pick it up. Just wasteland me, bro. Yeah, that's tough. It's better than the Kaladesh Inventions where you can just play against Solrig and Mana Crypts. How about that?
That is true. That's a good point.
Can't imagine that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, Kazakh here was a lot of fun just because you had a bunch of you had a lot of fixing, right? All the multicolored stuff. Brings me back. They brought it back to Arena to introduce fetch lands. I was in those trenches, casting all manners of.
I saw a Ghost Vacuum, I think.
Okay.
No, maybe I didn't. I don't see a lot of lands in this hand, though.
It's got a Deafening Silence. And I think we're already on a mulligan. This might just be a keep.
Wear Tear Silence, Double Guide of Souls, Bombardment, Ajani, 1 land. Yeah, probably send it.
Talk to me about Bombardment in this matchup. Is it a card you like?
I mean, I don't want a ton of copies. Like Alex has, I believe, 3 in the main deck. Let me just pull up the deck list time. I'm pretty sure it was 3. Yeah, 3 copies in the main. So I might shave 1, maybe even 2. But I do think it is a card that you kind of want access to. It's much better in sort of like the matchups that are much more about playing to the board, like the mirror match, the black-white matchup, things like that, where the 1 damage can actually kill meaningful things. And so it's much better in matchups like that. But as far as this matchup is concerned, it is a nice tool just to finish out a game.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. It's like it feels like it's really only good for just a burst to end the game versus like normally. I mean, you see the card in a style like this, good against removal spells. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of that going on, but we seem interested in it, at least from Alex's side, as we do Elegant Parlor here on end step off of the Flooded Chain. No play, turn 1 either player.
Yeah, very interesting decision here from Alex. Had the choice to kind of gamble a little bit and play the Guide of Souls or turn 1 fetch for the Parlor. And I think that given that Alex has, I believe, 2 sideboard cards in hand, I kind of like just guaranteeing, or not guaranteeing, but making it more likely you hit your land drop. And, because if you hit the land drop here, which is an Arena, that's kind of an awkward one. But yeah, you just want to make sure you can hit your land drops here. Yeah, you can't double spell. I guess
so you reach for Ajani to be mana efficient? Maybe
you could also
bombardment for bombardment first. Okay.
Yeah, if bombardment first is a little bit better if you suspect Will has a kill spell in hand. Where say like you play bombardment first, next turn, then if Will has a kill spell, you can at least use the creatures to fling him at Will, or maybe like try to flip the Ajani if that's your plan next turn. Because presumably you want to draw land 3 and then just go like Ajani hold up a sideboard card.
Yeah, like Ajani, Deafening Silence or whatever would be just a great turn. Like if you draw a land, it could be a great turn. If you don't draw a land, you still could be mana efficient. So I mean that is appealing. The only I think downside that I see is it's a little slow as here comes a Surveil land, but that's fine, right? Both players are just fetching Surveil lands. Being a little bit slower makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean it is possible that Will is maybe like showing a little bit of weakness here. It's possible he has some zeros that he's holding on to just to make, give Alex the fake impression that his hand is a little bit weaker than it actually is. And then maybe we see like a little bit of a burst here, but we will, looks like there's a Saga. So that, can get, that one's pretty good here.
There's a 0. There's another one. Looks like you were right. Yeah, you were definitely right. Here's all the zeros. A little burst, as you said. And now the Deafening Silence is like, oh, maybe we should have cast that one.
Yeah, it's nice too, because this, like I said, it kind of like by not playing the zeros the turn before, you do run the risk of running into Deafening Silence, which, that would have been really awkward if Alex had played the silence, but you kind of like, you don't tell Alex that how strong your hand is, or you give him a little bit less information that way, which is nice. But Alex did
now the Deafening Silence might be a little too late, but he did find, like you said, he did find a fetch land. So now we can play a 2 and a 1, could play multiple 1s. We have, a multi-spell turn here for sure. This is part of the power of Boros Energy. It starts double, even sometimes triple spelling as early as turn 3. Is that the direction we want to go? Not sure. It is tempting to like use the Wear Tear here, right? You get 2 targets. That's nice. You can do that. But once again, then you're not committing to the board. That's a real cost.
Yeah, I think you probably just want to go Ajani plus Silence this turn. But then, yeah, it's awkward, right? Because does the Ajani plus Silence, does that even compete against the Saga tokens?
Yeah, do you just lose the Saga tokens over time?
Right, exactly. But I guess you can, if you make a couple of cats, presuming Will doesn't have a kill spell for the Ajani here, the cats can hopefully maybe kind of keep up with the. I don't hate this either. We're just gonna. Ooh.
Yeah, I love it. This is really tempting for me. Now, it does get kind of destroyed by like a Spell Pierce or whatever, but if it works, this is a huge deal. This is like 2 mana sources, effectively a double Stone Rain. I don't know. It's not that bad. Gets the Saga out of here ahead of time.
Hey,
a lot of the artifact stuff.
We saw Grayson Nebbit's last round play at Stone Rain. This is just 3 mana for 2 Stone Rains. So
yeah, you get 2 of them. All right. See you later. From 5 permanents to 2 goes Will Kowalczyk. And still no pressure. I mean, this is the downside. There's no pressure coming from Alex, but if you can basically bring the game back to the early game by sending Will back to the Stone Ages, then maybe you don't need pressure yet anyway. Does make
Yeah,
the deafening silence look a little awkward with the way this game is sequenced, though.
this game looks a lot closer than it did last turn, right? When Will
Sure.
just kind of deployed the Saga and all the zeros had a ton of stuff in play, was threatening the 2 construct tokens, and now Alex has like you said, a little bit more time, can deploy. Looks like the hand is guide,
Ajani deafening?
Johnny, and silence. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
you can't triple spell. You could, I think you still maybe want to go towards the Ajani. Although the other option is maybe just guide and try to maybe bait removal spells out of Will before deploying the Ajani, because you are maybe a little bit worried that Will has a piece of interaction here.
Yeah, I think if he has a piece of interaction, he would interact with Deafening Silence or the Wear Tear. So at the point in which this happens, you have to assume it's removal spells. And I think the Bombardment is good, makes you good against removal spells. So that's what he has. If he has any interaction, it's not guaranteed that he does. But if he has any interaction, it's probably not counter spells that hit your stuff, because you didn't counter anything yet. So okay, Johnny token happens. I think the only trick that you can glean from that is that maybe you don't want to flip him proactively like you see a lot of players do. You might just get distracted trying to do that.
If you sacrifice the cat and Will did have the red removal spell, it's kind of brutal for you. Now, we can take a look at deck list. That Will has 3 Unholy Heats in the main deck, and then in the sideboard, that's it. So 3 Unholy Heats total. That is the removal spells that we're looking for here. And presumably those are all still in the deck here for Will. I can't imagine those would get cut. So it's a question from Alex. Do you want to do it now? I think I like waiting, because you can also double Guide of Souls next turn, which might bait Will into casting or you can just do it now.
Okay, we got a Boseiju who endures on the Deafening Sound. So that gives Alex a land.
Artifact, land, enchantment. This is so worth noting. Will, if I'm looking at Delirium, I believe land, artifact, enchantment. So 3 types. If you flip the Ajani now, Ajani comes into play with 3 loyalty counters. So if you flip that thing now, it's not going to be able to get hit by an Unholy Heat.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a big deal. Although it's awkward that it's on your instep, you can't activate right away. Like maybe the actual attacking damage is something you care about versus having to make a token and doing it that way. I don't know. It's kind of the same, I think, either way. The question is, how do things go wrong for you? We managed to get an elegant Parloff off Boseiju. I tell you what, these Surveil lands making Boseiju a much bigger cost. You just get extra value. Leave on top, says Alex. Back to Will we go. This game seemed like it had a really bursty start, at least from Will's side. But Alex, I think, getting pretty rewarded for playing slow. Bombardment into Wear Tear, just no creatures in play all the way to turn 4. Now has some pressure and doesn't look like Will has a ton going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's so scary with these breach decks, right? Will's got a fistful of cards in hands. And I mean, he could just easily be slow rolling a couple of zeros, maybe has a breach looking for the other piece. It's not impossible for Will to just end the game this turn. It's the breach deck does not need a lot to get going. Even just a breach by itself, say breach in a fetch land. If Will has an extra breach, you could go breach, fetch land, bobble, and then just draw a couple cards off of that. So, Will's got some options here. If there's a lot of cards in hand.
Yeah, that's the thing here is Will's got a lot of cards and keeps looking over the graveyard, and I'm not going to pretend to be some kind of social queue expert, but it makes me think that we're doing some combo math, which I think if you're Alex has got to not feel great. He's like, come on, I spent all this time interacting, and you still almost have a kill. And back to Alex we go. No play, not even a land from the member of Team Flex Slot, Will Kowalczyk. Back to Alex we go. Seems
7
like we
cards,
might be
all
close,
spells.
but not there. Yeah, exactly. All spells. I mean, you got to be a little nervous, Alex, but you did leave on top with the Surveil, if you remember, right? Didn't get a great look at what it was, but here's Guide of Souls number 1. Now, we
knew about that. We knew that there is also a second guide. The last card, I think it was a charm.
Ooh, Thraben Charm could be big game.
Yeah, because now, if you... So now that Will has let that resolve, I wonder if that gives you. I mean, even if Will had an Unholy Heat, he certainly would still save it for the guest.
Oh, it's Ocelot Pride.
Oh, this is huge, because now if Will has a kill spell, say you sack the token, right? If Will then has a kill spell, you can sacrifice the Ocelot Pride to then guarantee flip even in the face of a kill spell.
Yeah, having that extra cat, a big deal. And now we have 3 energy, so the Guidus stuff starts to kind of matter too, right?
Yeah, so I wonder, it's a little awkward because if you attack with either one of your creatures and then use the energy for the Guida Souls, you ideally are either going to lose the cat token or flip the Ajani. So the counters don't matter a ton here. But remember, because Will doesn't have Delirium, you could use the energy, target the cat token. Will has to respond here if he has. Well, no, because I guess he can just hold the heat for the Ajani. So forget what I said. But yeah, basically is like, is this worth the 2 damage? Because if you do want to sacrifice the cat token, you do lose the energy. But maybe Alex just is going to keep the cat in play and is content with doing this.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is a 2-turn clock. Like we have 3 power for 5. This is an attack for 5. The next turn we have the same attack for 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus, so that puts you to 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We're 1 short of a kill. Is that right? No, we get a token. No, we don't, because we're not gaining life.
Well, we're getting we are gaining life this
turn.
turn.
We did gain life from Guidus Souls. Yeah, okay, so we get a
Souls.
cat token. So we do have lethal.
We get 2 cat tokens because we have the blessing.
Oh, yeah.
So we get 2 cat tokens this turn.
So yeah, we just assembled a 2-turn clock. And that means that it doesn't really matter what we do with the Ajani. I mean, we have lethal, I think, both directions. Now it kind of comes to the what do we do if things go wrong is here, like I said, is an attack. And it looks like we spent energy to try to jump the cat token.
Yeah, and I think this is a pretty big tell that Will has the Unholy Heat. And I think he's thinking about, do I want to fire the Unholy Heat now? Because if I don't do it now, I can't kill the cat token because I only have 3 types in my graveyard. But again, if Alex decides to go for the flip Ajani line, you can just heat the Ajani, which that would also kill the Ocelot Pride because presumably Alex would want to flip the Ajani, which means he would also sacrifice the Pride. But like you said, I mean, at this point, the other thing to consider is the sweepers, right? Where if you're worried about Will having a sweeper because has some cards in hand, didn't play a land last turn, maybe didn't feel like the sweeper was good enough last turn. Now that you've deployed these 3 creatures, he's going to cast a sweeper if he has it. So you might want to insulate yourself against the sweeper by trying to flip that Ajani this turn. So I think I like this.
But you can do that at any time, right? You can just sweeper, I'll respond by sacking my Ocelot Pride. Now I have Planeswalker.
You do get a lot more damage this way if you do it because you get to flip the Ajani, get a 0, which is 3 more damage? But you're giving up the Ocelot Pride in the exchange. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of tough.
Oh, I mean, either way, Alex has decided to sacrifice the token, and that's going to target Will. And then, like you mentioned, we have the option to sacrifice the Ocelot Pride, but it's not obvious to me that that's better. It looks like he agrees that it is. And I think likely the reason for this is exactly what you mentioned. This is respect to sweepers. Because, I mean, you're just kind of sacrificing a lot of your board, getting a little bit of damage for it. But the Planeswalker, what that really buys you, obviously other than another creature, is some insulation against some sweepers. And I think that Alex is valuing that very highly based on how he is sequenced here in the post-combat main phase.
Yeah, so this next cat will get him 2 energy and 2 damage, right? So up to 4 energy, 2 energy, put Will down to, 3 damage. So put Will down to 9. Then next turn, you can 0, make a cat that's 4 damage, Will down to 5, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 2 from the guy to 6. You have more than lethal next turn. So this is still a 2-turn clock. And this is, I believe, no, not through a sweeper, though, because Will casts a sweeper, you sack 3, he goes to 6. Then you can 0, he goes to 5, then sack goes to 4. So if Will does have a sweeper, he gets 1 more turn, but really going to need a sweeper right now.
Yeah, I mean, Will needs something right now, or a kill. I mean, that's really the other part of this is Will last turn was taking a lot of look at the graveyard. Now things have changed. I mean, another card in the graveyard is a big deal. I mentioned Delirium being something that potentially matters as well. As Ajani Nakatl Pariah does give some insulation against sweepers. You mentioned needs the sweeper now, but I mean, really, I think what Will wants is a kill right now. And so we'll see if he does have access to that. Doing some counting, it's clearly not obvious, whatever the path forward is for Will Kowalczyk here.
That Unholy Heat notably did put Delirium, is the 4th type. So if Will had a second Unholy Heat, that could take care of the Ajani.
And then you're still taking beatdowns. I mean, almost a lethal kill here, right? This is a 4 + 3, 7. It's 2 points short of lethal. A creature makes it lethal.
Yeah, basically.
Even just killing Ajani is not even that good. And he does have looks like he does have another heat. Finally got to look at the hand a little bit.
Doing a lot of math here.
Yeah, this is tough. You mentioned a lot of patience from Will on those heats, especially given he has 2 of them. It might be too 3 breaches.
Well, we got to
Oh
look at the hand.
boy, 3 breaches, a Mox Amber. Is it Grape Shot, not Heat?
Definitely got to
No,
look
it's
at the
Heat.
hand. No, it's Grape Shot, I think.
That's Grape
Yeah,
Shot?
3 breaches, a Mox, and a Grape Shot. So this is why he's been taking so long, really trying to piece together and figure out. Yeah, see, the problem is he doesn't have enough mana, right? You can go breach, bauble, but then you don't have mana to cast the. I
Grape
guess there's an
Shot.
opal in the grave. So I wonder if he's okay. Can you go breach, opal, bauble? I think you're 1 card short of that, right?
Page
4.
Oh, well, yeah, it looks to be 1 card short right now of that. And yeah, the classic tank concede move from the combo player. I think, we'll kind of reach the same conclusion we did, where it's like, whatever you have, you're like either a card or a mana short to even really live another turn. And Alex Poulosky going to win game number 2 over the Grinding Breach deck. The sideboard cards mattering a lot. Deafening Silence had to be answered, which gave Will some critical scry and Surveil and some additional mana. The wear tear was huge, choosing to take the turn off for that. And I mentioned Bombardment, how much of a player is it? Looked to be pretty big there too. Really did a lot to represent lethal as far as a burst of damage goes at the tail end, doing what it does since it was originally printed before foils even existed. So back to the sideboards, both those players go. Looks like some moving of some Ragavans around for
So
Alex Poulosky.
one thing that I didn't mention about Bombardment, which we kind of saw on display there, it is a good way to kind of close out a game. It also is very good against interaction. And the post board games, I think, has the heats in the main deck, but against those sweepers, having access to the bombardments, not only to get something out of your creatures if they get swept, but also to protect your Rajani against those removal spells. So that is, probably the most important thing that it does in this matchup.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense to me. And as these players are taking a look at the sideboards here, reshuffling up, let's take a look at our next event. Of course, we're going to have one more event tomorrow. We're going to have coverage of our team trial tomorrow, but we have an event coming up right after this. I believe this one is going to be in Madison, Wisconsin. Look at Garrick. This is going to be a standard showdown, a 10K standard showdown, just like this modern showdown, but you get to play standard. Get off arena, get out to Madison, Wisconsin, Blade in standard, and punch your ticket to the 2025 championship. And Sunday is going to have a 5K Pioneer trial as well. March 15th and 16th. Mark your calendars. If Devin wasn't in the booth with me, he would definitely be playing. Big standard fan is the Doom Wake here.
No,
I would
right.
not be. I would be at home enjoying myself because I don't know. Anything just that's been printed in the last 5 years, I hate it. It doesn't matter what it is. I hate it all. Is Arclight Phoenix in the last 5 years? It's not right. I like that.
I don't know exactly when the date of that is, but you might want to rescind that statement if that's the case.
Yeah. Okay. Conditions apply. See store for details. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah, make your way out, play some standard. No, really glad to hear. I can't talk enough about how excited I am to be able to see more standard and honestly interact more with standard formats that change more often. I was really heartbroken to see the death of standard over the COVID break. Back in action. 10K championship showdown invite.
Yeah, and I mean, a big part of that is tournaments too. NRG allowing standard to be showcased on the tournament series is a boon. That gets more people interested, and that is the most important thing. Is because I think we can all probably agree that standard is the best gateway for newer players that go into the game because they're more, they're being exposed to the newer product. That's what's readily available to them, and it's a good. We want to grow the game.
Yeah, it was really weird that we ended up at Commander as an entry point for a lot of players because Commander is actually kind of a horrific way to enter. Like multiplayer Magic, only really barely functions. Like Eternal formats are just so many cards, you get blown out by everything. Like the social format thing is just awkward. It's just not a good way to introduce people to Magic. But because Commanders are so resonant with new players, because I like this card. Doesn't matter what my other 99 cards are that has too few lands and I can never cast my spells. I like this commander. And so I get to attach my identity to that. That's a big deal. And I think, whatever, maybe there's a lesson to be learned there, 60 card Magic, but I would like to see more players introduced through traditional means because really, the commander pipeline is really just nowhere to go because it's just not, I don't know, it's not great. It's not a good representation of Magic as a game at large, even though it is quite fun. Big commander fan myself.
I got I got a glimpse at Alex's hand. I don't know if you see what I see, Drake, but there's a sideboard card in it, and that is a heater. Now, it's a little awkward because if Will doesn't mill over a breach early, then yeah, I mean, you get station 2, I guess, but you want to hit breach ideally. That's the first target you want to hit with that surgical. But it could put you in a position where, say, like if Will just has the combo pieces in hand and doesn't mill them over, then it's really hit or miss in this matchup sometimes.
It certainly was an odd one, and a card that throughout history I think players have over sideboarded versus under.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's
I mean,
an
obviously,
understatement.
this is a matchup where I think it actually does have Texas. Turn 1 Tameo, one of the cards that Surgical's not good against, if you're going to highlight those. Same with Wear Tear. So maybe this Tameo might actually be really clutch. Not really what Alex wanted to see on turn 1 from Will's side, and Plains doesn't help that mix.
It
Yeah,
used to
little
be.
update. Grayson Nimitz is victorious on our other backup feature match. So we're going to have some Eldrazi action in the finals.
It used to be if your opponent had magic cards, you would board in surgical against magic cards. But, now people have kind of realized over the years that maybe that's not the best idea.
No. Throwing a card in the garbage can.
Sometimes you just want to look at their hand, just target a fetch land, see what they got going on over there.
Back in my day, Delver mirrors you would board it in because they would only play 2 lands or whatever, so you could just surgical all of 1 land and they just have no lands. Your Delver decks only play Volcanic Islands; they can never make red again. If you just surgical their Volcanics, and that was good enough to be worth a card. Yeah, horrific. They got to next level. You play a Taiga in your sideboard because that way you want an extra land for the mirror. Oh, horrific!
Like 1 Taiga, 1 Underground Sea, just these random off-color lands.
Yeah. No, gone are the days of taking their magic cards, and now we actually do hit things in the graveyard. As Tameo gonna make a clue. Guide of Souls on turn 1 from Alex. Does not block Tameo very well. Not that you need to, it doesn't do any damage.
Okay, here's the Emery. Do we mill a combo piece? This is huge.
Yeah, surgical could be mattering here. No.
3
lands and a spell snare. Not even delirium. That's
snare.
tough.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, Alex not really having a good surgical target, but this is kind of what I mentioned where now if Will just has the breach and if Will has the 2 combo pieces in hand and doesn't mill them over, that surgical is not going to be good enough. Now, good news for Alex fans, there is quite a few more sideboard cards in hand. I think I saw a Wear Tear and a 3-bin Charm. So not really shy on sideboard cards. But this is kind of the thing that I wanted to bring up too, is when you kind of sideboard this much against the breach deck, look at this position, right? Tameo, Emery, just kind of cards that generate other pieces of cardboard. Alex has very, very surgical sideboard pieces, no pun intended, where those are good against the combo, but Will's not necessarily going to be going for the combo anytime soon.
Yeah. Exactly. The Tameo makes it such that you have a good plan already in play for all of the sideboard cards. And so if we just exchange resources and things kind of even break your way a little bit, well, I don't really care. I mean, I'm just going to Tameo, redraw, got my Planeswalker, got a bunch of stuff going on. This Unholy Heat going to pick off the Guide of Souls. I think there was some thought to 3-bin Charm in response, chose not to. Back to Will we go. Attack with Tameo we go.
Yeah, Alex thought about killing the Emery with the 3-bin Charm, which was realistically the only legal target because the Tameo wouldn't die to the 3-bin Charm. It's only 2 damage to it. So decided not to do that because Will didn't mill over an artifact to cast off of the Emery. So it feels like maybe we'd rather hold up a piece of interaction for the combo rather than kill an Emery with no targets. And mill 4, still no targets for that Emery.
Yeah, it's awkward too. Even Rumble, maybe there's a universe you hit 2 breaches there, and Alex is super happy to see that. Get the 1 out of your hand, get them all out of your deck, kind of thing. But did not happen. Follow up is another Mox Opal to the Legend rule, and there's 3 artifacts.
Right? Do we? Oh, we
have 2 clues.
The clues, right? I forgot about those. I see.
And that's what we're.
Yep, you're right.
Breaking now. Yeah, we're sacrificing an opal after tapping it for mana, making another one, and then using that to draw a card. Looks like we drew a land. I can't imagine we sequenced that. We have the whoa.
Well, now you can Emery back the opal, play the opal, keep the new one, and then flips the Tameo.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, you're right.
Clue, if he wants to.
Yeah, I don't know that that's better than just making a clue every turn. Seems good to me. It's like, you can crack this clue on your opponent's turn, untap, make another clue, and then, you're cooking.
Yeah, it's just personal Howling Mine and play the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you're going to power through a lot of this stuff. Like, you want to 1-for-1 my pieces, you want to disrupt my combo, that's fine. I'm going to have 8 cards in hand. Like, I really think Tamiyo is such a big problem and really demonstrates some of the pivots this deck offers, where it's like, okay, you have all these cards great against my combo, things that blow up enchantments, things that blow up artifacts, things that hate the graveyard. Awesome. You cover me on all those angles. Here's a Tamiyo. Beat this thing. And it's like, oh, can you? I don't know.
And you also just kind of put him in the squeeze, right? Where Alex is at a point where Will has a stocked graveyard, a Mox Opal in play, 2 legendary creatures, feels kind of pressured into, well, I kind of have to hold up my sideboard cards so I don't just get KO'd. But the longer you hold up your sideboard cards, you're just going to get buried by Will drawing, 2 to 3 cards a turn if he can get the Emery online. So it's a really tough, it's a really hard line to straddle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Tough to toe that line here. Is Tamiyo going to crunch and make a second clue? Metalcraft back online. A lot of mana available for Will. See if he wants to start cracking some of these clues. He does. First one cracked. How do we feel about number 2? Found a bobble.
Ooh, now we get stuff for the Emery.
Yeah, that's food for the Emery for sure. Bobble you. And now, flicking the 2 lands back and forth, you have multiple graveyard hate options. You can respond here to this Emery. Now, do you want a Thraben Charm nuke the graveyard, or do you want a Surgical? Will, I think, is aware that there's graveyard hate available. The pauses in response to the casting a mobile and stuff, I think really clued Will in that there is some graveyard hate. I don't know that he knows exactly how much and of what flavor.
I think you want to go for Thraben Charm here because remember, going back to what we talked about last turn, where you don't want to be in a spot where you feel like you're forced to hold up mana the entire game. And the Surgical, not only would you rather hit the combo piece, but you can also hold that up on a later turn, even in a turn you're tapped out.
And some graveyard hate the other direction, as here is a Soul Guide Lantern coming in for Will Kowalczyk. Much less, I think, effective. Obviously covers the flages and stuff, but especially if this game goes long, it's not a 0, but it's like, the World Synergy deck isn't a graveyard deck. Just something to grab off Saga in the case of Flage. As here is 1 card left in hand for Will. Going to cycle the Soul Guide Lantern now, which does flip the Tamiyo.
Decided not to do it last turn. This turn, now that we have some more information, I think. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense too.
That's pretty informative. It is good. Just having a Tamiyo you want value out of. All right.
Just get it all.
You actually just get it all. You get the personal Howling Mine. You also get this thing that is pressuring by just ticking up to threaten ultimate. Quite a bit coming up here for Will. And it's, like I said, mostly just off the back of these Tamiyos. Like the Emery thing got blown out by Thraben Charm, theoretically. As here's Fable. That could help get Alex caught back up, potentially.
It just feels like he's kind of, it feels like he's too far behind at this point, just not in the card race, right? Where in terms of accruing more resources and pieces of cardboard, Will has him covered by a lot. And, usually you would look towards, well, okay, the Boros deck has a pretty fast clock. Well, not really when you draw this many sideboard cards. So yeah, this is just kind of a masterclass here from Will, just kind of sequencing pretty well, showing what this Breach deck is truly capable of, and just the ability to play these kind of longer games and not have to worry about the combo, as long as if the Boros deck is not pressuring you, you just have infinite time to do stuff like this.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's just the crux of it all, is Will has a lot of time. And you see actually going to deploy a duplicate Emery, which kind of funny, not a 0, because it just lets you mill for and potentially get more options for the existing Emery to buy something back after that graveyard got a little nuked. And that's card disadvantage, right? We have put a card from our hand into the graveyard, but it doesn't matter. All this stuff, we're getting so much card advantage off these Tamiyos. And, obviously Emery herself also providing card advantage, that you're able to make plays like this just to give yourself some more options, because you're already ahead on the card advantage axis, assuming that's what this game's even about, right? You're still, at the end of the day, we're talking about all this, who's up on cards, who has all these things, who has the card advantage, who is applying more pressure. But at the end of the day, the power of the Grinding Breach deck is it can just win out of nowhere. Here's another World Breach, you're dead. And that is what makes this deck so powerful. You attack on multiple axes, and then just when, card advantage is what matters because of Tamiyo, okay, that's fine. I'm winning on card advantage. Okay, Underworld Breach, you're dead. And that's so powerful.
Yeah, and one important thing, Alex has had this surgical in his hand the entire game. Will has
Yeah.
not, Will has cast multiple Embrys and a Rumble, as has not milled over a single breach or a grinding station. So didn't
I
even
mean,
have the
Will had
option
the
to
option to
KO it.
Emery something last turn, right? And just didn't. Is that accurate?
Yes? Question mark.
So we're just holding up a pile of mana. That seems. What do we got? Flame of Anor? I don't know. I'd be thinking, like,
Holding.
what are
Well,
we
there's
holding
an
up here?
Amber. The Amber could have just been played basically for free, right? I wonder if he's thinking about chump blocking with the Emery to keep the Tameo with. Oh, no. So the Tameo Plus makes the Fable token a 1/2, and the Emery can block it for free. So maybe he values preventing 1 damage to Tameo more than casting the Amber out of his graveyard or a Lantern, which is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
I
that's
don't
fair. Like,
hate it.
you can cast Amber at any time.
Yeah.
And ticking up right now, Tam is what you have going on. Ticking up to ultimate is like a real
That's clearly his
thing.
plan at this point, right? Yeah.
At least until he draws Breach. Well, once again, all that whole tirade I just went on about how he decked went out of nowhere. I mean, the other
Well,
aspect of this.
you see, Drake, the thing about drawing half of your deck is you're pretty likely to find your combo pieces once you do that.
Tell me about the mathematics. I'm a big. You know what? Actually, can you give me a graph? I'm big on graphs. I mean, I'm
What about a
involved in
pie
corporate
chart?
America at this point. A
Pie
chart
chart,
looks
that's
great.
the best I can do is a pie chart.
I can work with a pie chart. Double Ocelot Pride, checking Ascend. Looks like we have ascended. We have the Cities of Blessing. And 2 cyber cards left in hand. Can't be a bad spot. We have pressure now.
Well, define pressure because Ocelot Pride not great against Tameo Plus.
Yeah,
That's not that much pressure.
Crack a clue, says Will.
It's like the classic Jace Architect of Thought versus Deceiver Exarch. You remember that gamble or that back and forth?
Yeah, I do.
Oh yeah.
I love me a Jace. Come on, I'm a Jace. I played that card in standard. The entire time was legal. So sick. What are you supposed to do? Uptick, downtick, factor fiction. Beat it.
How does Will keep casting these mill spells and has not hit a single combo?
It's all terrible cards.
It's
just
so
all
unfortunate
lands.
for Alex. Yeah. He's just give me a target for this surgical. I've had it in hand the whole game.
And Alex has got to have had it. Like, because Will's going to be like, oh, wow, these have been so bad. I can't believe I'm so unlucky.
Yeah.
Alex is like, no, I want you to hit these cards. Where's my surgical? Just doesn't have text.
Although I guess
What is happening?
At this point, if he hits a breach and 3 bricks, he's just going to take a breach anyways. But maybe he hits 2 breaches, and then you can, leave him with one in the graveyard at least.
Yeah,
but this is kind of the problem.
Who knows?
This is the problem too, because once Will ultimates this Tambio, then that surgical is not going to really matter anymore because all the combo pieces are going to be in Will's hand. So that one's kind of off the table. I guess you still have the wear tier to buy a turn, and Will's kind of choked on mana, but presumably he's going to find some Moxes if he draws half his deck.
I mean, he already has Amok, another one coming potentially. It tapped Emery. Not sure what it targeted, but I mean, a lot of options. We got Haywire Mites. We got the Soul Guide Lantern still. We got the Mox Amber. Got a lot of juicy targets. I think you do need to pick off this Fable eventually. Fable activating the Reflection of Kiki-Jiki with Ocelot Pride is not really something you can let happen, but we got turns till that matters.
I wonder what it's targeting. I think it might be Haywire Might. And Alex was really in the tank thinking about whether or not to surgical it. Looks like it was Lantern.
Yeah, Soul Guide Lantern. Okay.
Respecting Flage a little bit. I get that.
It's also just a redraw, right? We don't have a bobble anymore. So if you just want to draw cards, that's the card that does it.
And funny thing about Soul Guide Lantern versus Flage, where if Alex has 7 mana and a stocked graveyard, you can stack the triggers to where you resolve the damage trigger, then resolve the sacrifice, and you get priority before your opponent does. So they actually have to pop the Lantern before the Flage goes to the graveyard in that case, which might matter. Probably doesn't matter too much in the grand scheme of things, but just something to think about.
Notably, keeping Tameo on defense here. We chose to use the Emery instead. We got the Spawn as well. Really keeping the Tameo high, right? Like we are threatening ultimate next turn, even if it takes a point, where it's 7, or we're at 8 now. So if it takes a point, it goes to 7. So you can actually let it take a point and you're still good. And now it's kind of in this awkward spot where some of Alex's draws that are good are like damage spells just to kind of buy some time against that Tameo uptick. But I mean, we mentioned the Tameo ultimate was the real plan and we drew a land. Uh-oh. It might be Tamio
Yeah.
Ultimate time.
And these Ocelot Prides can't really do anything. Yeah, Alex just
Nothing. Just concedes to the Tamio Ultimate. That's it. We're done.
Yeah, respect it.
Wow. Soloed by the Tamio. I mean, that was the Tamio. That flip Tamio was the one that was played on turn 1. Like, literally just
drew half the
I'd
deck.
say 20 to 0. But
and I mean, that was just kind of a perfect example of not necessarily. I'm not going to say over sideboarding, because the cards that Alex brought in were cards that also have some text against the alternate plans, right? Like Wear Tear is good against Saga, Thraben Charm good against Saga, Thraben Charm can kill Tambia, Thraben Charm can kill Emery. So these cards have multiple uses, but it just kind of like you have to line your sideboard cards up with whatever plan the breach deck is on, and that's why it's so hard to attack, because it's like hard to find cards that are good against all those plans. And if you if you zig when they zag, then it's going to be rough for you.
And that's been the story of Modern for as long as I can remember. Is people have talked about you almost want more sideboard slots in Modern than, like, you almost feel like you need them because you just can't cover everything. In this case, it's like one deck, right? Like, there's no card that covers every angle. We mentioned Wrath Disguises and cards like that that can kind of get multiple plans in one go. But for the most part, no matter what you're doing, the Grinding Breach deck has a way to pivot around it, no matter how you're trying to hate on them. So you really, even post sideboard where you're bringing in hammers, you still need them to line up against their game plan, and that might be a big game winner here for the Grinding Breach deck, as there's an Eldrazi ramp deck waiting. So we're not going to keep you guys waiting too long as these players are getting set up. I don't even know if we need to cut to a break. We'll get updated on that in just a moment. But we are going to see Grayson Nimitz versus Will Kowalczyk here in just one moment. So we're going to cut to a break. Yeah, it looks like these players are still backing up.
They're not quite there yet.
Yeah, that's all right. So we're going to cut to a very quick break, and then we'll be back with the finals here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.